I remember going to the games and watching them play and the excitement and the roar of the crowd. It was something that I just identified with and really sparked an interest that stayed with me all through high school and into college, and was fortunate enough to play in some pretty good football teams.
Our alums, they come from all over to watch the game. Baseball's the pastime, but football's the passion, I think, for our country.
The SEC is a great football tradition, is obviously at a very high level, and every week you've got to be ready to go.
Go!
I've coached in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2010s.
Go!
My connection to football goes back to childhood, like lying on the floor, poring over box scores and standings. That just goes back to me thinking that there's always hope for the Detroit Lions is what it amounts to. So.
I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee during the Dolphins' great run. As long as I can remember watching the Dolphins with my brother.
I grew up about an hour from here, so this is my dream job at my dream place.
Football is our passion. It's our core. The game may be changing, but it's not going anywhere. We are committed to identifying and creating smarter performance products that will help us forge the future of the game together.
Smart football for Riddell means information that's coming from the field of play. Information that can help us better protect the athlete on the field, but also through technologies that can feed information to the sideline that tells the people on the sideline about what's going on out there.
We specialize in developing technology to measure different aspects of the human body for both better understanding of what is occurring, but also to take that information and provide what we would call biofeedback to the user.
The biggest challenge, again, is you just can't put a sensor on a helmet and expect to measure something that's realistic. The helmet shakes, the helmet moves, you get a lot of different things that occur. It's a complex environment. What we've done is we've developed algorithms and mechanical enclosures that really help isolate all those other extraneous accelerations from the true head accelerations. And so we're able to really get the biofidelic measurement that we're trying to get to.
So HIT technology is essentially what's going inside the helmet to record the head impacts and then transmit it to the sideline. A sideline response system takes that information or biofeedback, processes it, and provides that information in usable ways to the sideline staff. What that is actionable data. It's just not information for information's sake.
Back in 2000, we switched from student health to our new medical school, which is called VCOM, the Via College of Osteopathic Medicine. And our head team physician came to me one day and said, look, we've got a proposal to put the SRS system in our helmets and measure real-time impacts on football players, which had never been done before. One of the biggest things we've found from our study, both on the college level, middle school level, and the little kid level, is that we're doing things in practice that's really not practical to games. Right now, we've got it narrowed down to where a college football player gets about 1,000 hits a year, 1,000 impacts a year. So how can we minimize those, both in their magnitude and the number of them? And one of the things we found is that progressive coaches do not hit as much. We look for quality more than quantity.
One of the advantages about the HIT system is it gives us information that can be valuable from a clinical sports medicine standpoint. And for example, the first we got the data, we noticed right up front, we had an offensive lineman who had an inordinate amount of head hits. And we can use that from a behavioral standpoint too. It gives us the capability to sit down with that young man and sit down with that coach and talk about his technique. And what is he doing differently to have that many more head hits than the person who lines up right beside him.
The technology is only going to enhance the player's performance, enhance their protection. If you have this equipment in your helmet, it's going to tell you and tell us, exactly what you're doing wrong. So it's kind of a beeper, if you will, to let us know, hey, you know what, you're not following the coaching.
We knew that Riddell had been working on this for over 10 years. And they had a substantial amount of technology to back this up and statistics to back this up. And so when we look at the students in the eye, we want to be able to say to them, we're doing the very best for you. And this technology allows us to do that, and we're excited about it.
For the past 60 years, people have looked at head injury and head injury biomechanics, from human cadavers to animal testing to dummy testing, and now we have the ability to actually collect data from humans. We're able to collect concussion injury data points, so we actually know how the head's accelerated during an injury event. So we can look at those and we can say, okay, how much linear acceleration, how much rotational acceleration is associated with concussion? We can also look at what direction. So what are the hits to the left, to the right side of the head? What are the hits to the front and back? How much rotation? Once we've quantified that and we can look at the distributions, that sort of information went into the STAR equation. That equation allows you to optimize your product. So whatever materials you're using, whatever type of helmet design you have, you can take the data from the HIT system and you can understand and predict how well that helmet's going to produce. When we first put the ratings out in 2011, there was only one 5-star helmet. Now there's 4 5-star helmets. So in the course of 2 years, so our third rating system, you've seen more manufacturers and more products developed at the 5-star level. So that shows that in a short amount of time, you can make a better product.
Using this type of research regarding head impact biomechanics, we can look at a lot of different play features and see what severity and frequency of head impacts result from those. One of the byproducts of that was the change in the kickoff rule, where they moved the kickoff line up 5 yards so that the closing distance between players would be a little bit shorter. So with changes to improve safety, the sport is going to have to evolve. The truth to that is that those decisions need to be evidence-based and they can't be knee-jerk decisions, and that's really the goal of this research.
As the game of football has changed, as the awareness around the importance of protecting athletes and the importance of understanding what's happening to them on the field, we were looking for a way that we could take this really robust information and data that we have and make it available in a much broader scope.
So we took a lot of the things that we learned from the SRS system and applied those, developing a much more sophisticated insight measurement system. Insight utilizes a much more simplistic measurement approach while still providing the biofidelic measures that we're looking for.
It gathers head impact information on the football field. It decides if that information is worth alerting the sideline about, then transmits either a single impact alert or an alert that talks about an accumulation of events on the field to the sideline. That information may be actionable by the sideline medical personnel.
If you go back 15 years ago when we first started the SRS, our physician's goal was that you could have these sensors in every helmet. And his far-fetched view of this was to have your niece have it in her bicycle helmet. If she ever wrecked, you take her and the helmet to the ER, they plug it in the computer, it tells you where the blow was, what the magnitude was, and how to treat it, which could happen anytime now.
There are exciting new opportunities to pair SRS with other scientific disciplines, say genetic biomarkers, that might make the game better in a number of different ways, making better diagnostic, better return to play decisions, making better treatment decisions.
With the biomarkers, the eventual hope is that on the sideline you can do a pinprick test, and on the sideline you can tell if that person had a concussion or not. So it sounds far-fetched, but who would have thought we'd ever have sensors in helmets that could actually measure impact?
We want our kids to play. We want them to experience the effort and the commitment and the joy. But again, you've got this overarching need to make sure that they're protected, and that's why as the needs of the game have evolved, as the dynamics have changed, it's really incumbent upon us to make sure that we're leveraging all the technologies that we have available to us to ensure that we are outpacing the needs of the player, both from a performance standpoint, but also a protection standpoint.